quarterback, folks. Kyler Murray agreed to a one-year, $1.3 million deal with the Minnesota Vikings yesterday, while the Cardinals will have to pay the rest of his $36.8 million salary this season. This is interesting. His new contract also includes that the Vikings cannot use the franchise or transition tag on him next offseason. Kyler spoke about his excitement.
Ever since I started playing tackle football, I was 7 years old. Genuine fandom. Ran deep, Vikings gear through and through. A lot of purple in my household. I cried real tears whenever Brett threw that interception. I cried real tears that day. Never in a million years did I think that this was, going to come around full circle.
All right, so he was raised in Texas, and yet diehard Minnesota Vikings fan.
What did he say? He didn't like the Cowboys.
He said bad. Yeah, in so many words, he was not a fan of the Cowboys. Yes, something bad. Yeah. Mike Tannenbaum, our former GM, we turn to you. What was your reaction to this move by the Minnesota Vikings?
This may be the most consequential transaction in the last 5 years in the NFL. To get a starting quarterback at 29 years old for 1.3.
Last 5 years.
In the last 5 years, when you think about the cap at $300 million and to pay a starting quarterback, presumably at 29 years old, $1.3 million, that's incredible value. And when you think about this, team won 9 games last year with really below average play between Max Brosmer, J.J. McCarthy. Look at this graphic and some Carson Wentz. It's amazing how impactful this move could be. If they win 2 more games, they're sitting at 11. They should win the division, and your quarterback is making the league minimum. Again, context is everything. Starting quarterbacks are making upwards of $60 million. And look, I'm not saying he should be at the top of the market, but this is incredible value with a lot of high impact. And if it doesn't work out, there's very little downside.
All right, Damian Woody, you look at this. Here comes Kyler, former first overall pick. Competition with J.J. McCarthy, or is Kyler Murray the dude?
No, Kyler Murray's the dude. Like you're Kyler Murray, you got options. Like, you get cut by the Arizona Cardinals. Why in the world are you going to go somewhere for quote-unquote competition? The Minnesota Vikings know exactly where they sit. They basically said, we're going to run this thing back. We're going to bring in another quarterback because we expect to be one of the contenders in the NFC. And I think Kyler Murray does that for them. Let's not forget, the pedigree of Kyler Murray. This is a man who was a former #1 overall pick. And when we've seen the best of Kyler Murray has played like a top 10 quarterback at his best. And so you put him in the infrastructure in Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy, bye-bye. This is the end of J.J. McCarthy. If Kyler Murray goes on to do what I think he's going to do in Minnesota, that could be a long-term deal for him in the future.
Graz, so definitive here that it's done for J.J. McCarthy. How do you read it?
I don't think it is, but I think, look, everything you're saying is true. If Kyler Murray plays to his potential, he's a better player than J.J. McCarthy. He probably starts the whole year. We probably see something similar to what we saw with Darnold 2 years ago, and honestly in Indianapolis with Daniel Jones before he got hurt last year. That's the most similar situation, right? They had Anthony Richardson. They brought in the veteran hoping that either he would outplay him or he would spark something. And I think that's what the Vikings are doing here. Kyler Murray played 5 games last year. He's being paid a minimum salary by the team that just signed him. He's being paid almost $37 million by Arizona to not play for them. So it's not as if this is some sort of perfect, they didn't sign Patrick Mahomes, right? So I think Kyler Murray has a great opportunity here. And I think this move helps keep Justin Jefferson happy and the rest of their veteran roster that felt let down last year by the quarterback play, because they were let down last year by the quarterback play. So you're telling your team, hey, this is a real quarterback. If all else fails with McCarthy, we have somebody that we can go to now. And I think that's what ends up happening. But I do think that in the back of Minnesota's mind, at Kevin O'Connell's mind, there is some hope that maybe J.J. McCarthy, a light goes on at some point and he becomes what they thought he would be.
But Graz, here's what's great about the move. He doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. He just got to win 2 more games. Yeah, and that's why I think the risk reward is so compelling.
But the question was about, do you anoint him the starter right now? And O'Connell was asked about that yesterday, and his answer was we don't have a game Sunday. Like we don't have to
see how it plays out. And maybe J.J. McCarthy has an amazing training camp and comes out and just beats him out every single day. There's a window for that. Do you put the Vikings now in that conversation with the Bears and the Packers and the Lions in the NFC North?
Absolutely I do. We're talking about a team last year had a top 7 defense. They had no quarterback.
Yeah.
No quarterback. Again, Minnesota Vikings are essentially running it back with everybody on both sides of the ball. And so you enter in a quarterback the caliber of Kyler Murray, with the guy who can do things both with his legs and his arm. Like, he's going to elevate this roster. And so, again, you get this type of Kyler Murray that we're watching on our screen. I think this is a Minnesota Vikings team that's going to contend to come out of the NFC this year.
I would add that with a one-year deal, with no franchise tag, if you're not motivated to come out there and play the best football of your career now, well, then it's just probably never going to be a time where you're going to be motivated. The carrot is out there. Joe, we go to Vegas. What's a bet you like out of this situation?
The opportunities here, I agree with you guys. You bring him in, it's a good value. He's never really known failure as a football player prior to Arizona. 42-0 at Allen High in Texas, 3 state championships, won a Heisman Trophy, was 9th overall in the Major League Baseball draft. But Arizona was a failure. I think mentally you're going to get a motivated, focused individual. The way to bet him, which is interesting, the market doesn't love the move all that much. Their win total's 8.5. It's the lowest of anyone in the division.
Last year they won 9 games.
They won 9 games last year. Detroit and Green Bay are both sitting 10.5. The Bears are 9.5. Minnesota's 8.5. Their odds to win the division are the absolute worst. Not much happened with the Super Bowl market. Talking to bookmakers, he's worth about 2.5 points to the spread versus J.J. McCarthy. So if McCarthy's starting and you're a pick'em, you'd be a 2-point favorite with Kyler Murray.
Wow. So
they don't like it very
Vegas
much.
is not all in. All right, interesting. Are we talking a lot more Kyler?
Scary NFL truths. Mike Tannenbaum has his flashlight. He's there somewhere. Oh, we sound like Paul Bear. Mike, your first scary truth involves Kyler Murray. What is it?
Yes, Kyler Murray is going to lead the Minnesota Vikings to the NFC North title. If you go back a year ago, guys, they won 9 games, and J.J. McCarthy, if you really look at it, after that Chicago game, really didn't play well. He had 11 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He's still a young player, not saying his career is over by any stretch, but he did play well. And then you look at Kyler Murray here, former first pick in the draft. Guys, he's only 29 years old. If he plays B or better, he'll play better than what J.J. McCarthy, Max Brosmer, Carson Wentz. They'll win the division.
That's a tough division.
I hope there's a payoff at the end of this where, like, the lights come on and Mike T's, like, in an airport lobby with just people behind him. Hey, Mike T, earlier this week, the Jets traded for Geno Smith. And if that's not scary enough, you're looking for them to go after another quarterback, yeah?
Yes, Gary. A scary truth is it would still make sense not only with Geno Smith, but to possibly draft Ty Simpson in the first round, quarterback from Alabama. There's a great expression that applies here, which is let's win for today with Geno Smith, and then let's draft Ty Simpson for the future. So I love what the Jets have done. Gives them great optionality. And Ty Simpson's the second quarterback in this draft. He'll go somewhere in the middle of the first round. And if the Jets took him, that would make a lot of sense to me.
Win for today with Geno Smith, he says. All right, finally, Mike T, you have a scary truth involving the Raiders, and I'm terrified to even ask what that is, Mike T.
I would sign Kirk Cousins. I think he's the ideal bridge quarterback for your Fernando Mendoza, Randy, who's the quarterback of the future. Look, we know they got Tyler Linderbaum, but their offensive line gave up more sacks than any team last year.
Yeah.
So why not go out and get a veteran like Kirk Cousins, give him some stabilize the position, bring Mendoza along slowly. Don't play him from day one because remember, oftentimes quarterbacks are ruined before they ever get going. So let's start with Kirk Cousins in Vegas and then bring Mendoza along slowly.
One thing we can guarantee, that would be the nicest, most cheerful quarterback room.
It really would.
The Raiders might have to change their logo. They might have to
No
put a
one
smiley face.
would ever enter the quarterback room, but just be like, you first. No, I insist. No, it's you.
No, please,
Hey,
you.
They can't beat KC. They might as well sign one. That is Mike Tannenbaum. We appreciate the insight on SportsCenter on this spooky Friday the 13th.